Hello and welcome to 685 of our H series. We are currently in southern Närke, which is a province in Sweden, and we had lovely weather today. It was bright and sunny. Not very warm, 2 minus, so in that vicinity, but a very clear sky. And finally we saw the sun as well. And not only did we see the sun, we also saw the moon. Round, I think it was full just recently. And that's a sure pleasure to have to see. Today's lecture is going to be about the mind-body problem, and I will see that from an Alexander perspective. We have been rather up in our heads the last couple of days. Maybe it's time to cut in the brakes and go back to the body. My first lecture of the day was treating the problem. How do we approach connections and what are they? And our goal is to change our muscular structure as to have a lot more slow twitch muscles. Muscles that doesn't react very quick. And those muscles support the body, makes it easy to stand without any effort, and they have a huge connection with our state of mind. You see, it has to do with how we are disposed. The calmness that comes from the calmer muscles will calm us down. So you see, mind and body are connected. And I think it's very hard to understand that, because most people have a perception there are two different matters. Representation, mind, soul, psyche on one part, and what it is referring to, matter, objects, physical things in the world. So these two are completely divided, and it's impossible to have an idea of a connection there. And I think we need to understand there is at least a possible connection. And I think that actually could be enough, that it could be the same. Otherwise, this is the example today. It's an article from Anthony Kingsley. And he writes something to the effect that the mind-body duality from Descartes is not valid anymore. I think that's very good. That's fantastic. He's very eloquent, Ben. But I am quite certain that is not enough in this case, because we need to see it visually. It needs to be a vision, and that's why this figure, the Klein bottle, is excellent. I'm trying to touch it very gently because I just got it and I'm afraid of dropping it. It's a beautiful structure, and you can see what is outside goes in, it goes through the inside, and it turns out to be the inside. So inside becomes outside and vice versa. So what is the inside is actually also the receptacle. It's really weird. Volume and receptacle the same, but they're still different. This one can actually hold liquid. It's a bastard to fill it up, and it's even harder to empty it, but it can take liquid. But you can't put it in the dishwasher. You have to clean it with those things you put in your ear, and it's very, very difficult. But isn't it a beautiful thing? We have a guest here today, Jorrit, the young Jorrit. Can you have a look-see? This is a fantastic device. This is showing that the inside and the outside is exactly the same thing. Frederick Matthias Alexander, the inventor of the technique that came to bear his name after his death. He had an intuitive capability that is unbeaten until this day. He had a sense that the body and mind were the same thing. And to be honest, I haven't heard anything any person just say that out from nowhere without any scholarly education in that area, and actually in his time nobody proposed it. This was the early time of analytical philosophy, even in its very childhood. We're speaking 1880, 1890. Nobody believed that mind and body would be the same thing. So it's an odd thing, but his technique is based on the idea of the Klein bottle. It proves the Klein bottle, and it is the Klein bottle. And for it to work, your thinking and your action needs to be the same, actually the same. And for it to be the same, you also need to understand how it can be. I don't think you need proof, you just need to see that it's possible. And I'm going to demonstrate or tell you, I'm going to give you an example. You can hear from somebody that you can pass the river in Gothenburg. We have a big river there, it's really wide, one of the widest rivers in Scandinavia. Somebody can tell you you can pass it, but it gets even more real if you pass it yourself. Then you don't need anybody to tell you that. And if somebody says to you, you can change, for instance, the plugs in the car, well, you probably think you can, but when you do it, it's completely different. And even more so, if you hear such a weird thing, completely weird, none of the philosophers have supposed that mind and body would be the same thing. You could be very well helped by a Klein bottle. That's what I think. And of course, some explanations to go with it. And then when you start to try it out, test the limits, test what you can do with thinking, and trying to get thinking and action to go in the same space, parallel, and also in the same temporality. And we've been looking into a chap called Ken Ware, and I think he's well suited to be the partner, the modern partner of Alexander. He is also a discoverer, and oddly enough, they're actually compatriots. I didn't realize that first. But even though Alexander named himself British, yes, he was British, but he was in the British Empire. He was born and bred in Australia, actually in Tasmania even. So they are brethren of the same innovative nation, because Australia has been known to be the country of innovations. It seems there people are thinking their own ways. And the reason possibly being they are not burdened by the tradition in the same way, not at least in that time. And I think half the population were actually made up of convicts, something of that sort. Australia was from the beginning a convict island. So in this process, we need to redefine what is thinking. And it is actually a thinking that involves action. It should be almost visible, almost visible. Something that gives an effect, and that effect needs to be shown. That's what I'm going to do later. I will show the effect of the Alexander technique, because you need to feel yourself, and you should do as Alexander. You should see in some mirror or similar. Today we have excellent helping tools with the mobile cameras. You can take a photo, you can videograph it, and then you can see for yourself that your thinking has an effect. And that is similar to seeing the Klein bottle. All of a sudden, those itsy twitsy tweeny thoughts becomes powerful. They become something. And this is extraordinarily supportive of our ideas in quantum physics as well, because there we can show that thoughts actually have physical force. Words, thoughts, meanings, they do things in the universe. They are not dissimilar to matter or things physical. They share the same substance, but it's a difference in level, degree. And I think I was really young. I actually, by happenstance, happened to read this. I don't remember. I think it was an Indian guru who wrote a book, and it turned up in the local library. As curious as I was, I read it, and he said something to the effect that matter and mind is like a sliding slope or development. And I thought it was fancy. But to be honest, I never believed it. Because everything I saw around me did not support that. And everything I ever heard, and everything my parents, my teachers, their parents, their grandfathers, going back millennia. We have mentioned a whole group of people who actually took the banner of trying to indicate that mind and matter are the same thing, and trying to show people that could actually be the case. But I think this took a turn of events even more exciting. Well, let's start from the beginning. We had Martin Heidegger. He probably got his influences from the East. They were turned over to Maurice Merleau-Ponty, and I think that was a jolly good start. But with the development in mid-80s with the book of George Lakoff and Johnson, we really start suspecting there was something interesting connection, because they showed that all abstract terms took its start from the body. The most important words in the language took their meat, its substance, from the very body we were possessing. And that, I think, was the first slap in the face to show that it could actually be a proper connection. And that means that what you think is something bodily to some extent. When you say this is of a higher level, when you say that meaning is this, or you say that this thing is related to this, you do it from the body. And there is actually a muscular difference. A chap, neuroscientists show that for every word you think, there is a muscular difference. So you can check the tonus in the body. it could almost be, maybe in the future you can read the person's thoughts or what he's saying just by looking at the electricity that develops in the muscles and into the skin as well. Because they always show different patterns depending what the person is trying to say. This Guy Claxton shows that our balance in the body affects the abstract. We can get by doing simple chores and simple discussions, even if we are bodily unbalanced. But when we try to do sharp thinking, we need a balance in the body. And if you put a person like in a slouch, the intellectual capacity goes down radically. Because if you want to do analysis, if you want to do proactive thinking, that is planning, or you want to do something that is difficult, take knowledge that is very rare, and you need to sort of catch it in your head, something very difficult. They've been discussing language learning and mathematical skills, but also such things as producing good literature is dependent on that balance. And they try to set the balance out of chord, and the quality goes down really sharply. And it's this disconnection that is so interesting, because what we used to think earlier, that the soul, our rationality, was somewhere distant, not in this world, it turned out to be here, and matter is not far from the spirit. So you see here, this has spiritual implications as well. And I think the dualism that we had for such a long time has caused havoc in our spirituality. We try to remove the spiritual just because we think it's not spiritual. It's a misconception. It's a little bit what people used to do if they got cut. When you get cut, you get some blood, and then you get this sore scar. How do you say that in English? Well, that's the hard crust that gets on the skin. They used to remove that in the idea that was the bad thing, but it's actually the crust that protects the skin so it can heal properly and not give a mark, give a scar. So that's a confusion. So we try to remove the one thing we want to preserve. Yeah, the mistake is grave, but it is a mistake to leave the earth. It's a mistake to leave the body, because we are embodied, especially in spirit. And that's the third book Lakoff and Johnson wrote. It's Philosophy in the Flesh. And they show that philosophical expressions are all in the body. Here we don't find any exceptions, because philosophy needs the body to be explained, whereas simple words don't need the body in the same way. They still need the body, but when you get to philosophy, it's much more needed. And this misunderstanding had led to catastrophic things. Lakoff writes, this is the reason the religious got off with religion. They took away religion. We took away the spiritual in the churches, both the transcendental and the material. And they think somewhere 60 to 7% of the religious things in England was taken away. And mostly the abstract, the thinking. They watch in books, they see the abstract thinking is disappearing because they took away the material. And those things are quite interesting. I think we have to do a sort of demonstration here. And I start with my colleague first, Kalle, if I can borrow him, but then maybe Jorg will be interested as well. But I start with a pause there, if you can put it in. Well, I got to borrow Kalle here, and I'm just gonna make some, yes, I caught that on camera. Thank you, Kalle. As we saw in the beginning, the first video shoot here, the hand was clenched, and the clenching of the hands could be two ways. It's tension that starts in the hand, goes all the way up to the arms, up to the shoulder, down to the back. But it's also a tension that goes from the shoulders, upper arm, down to lower arm, and tenses the hand. It goes both ways actually. It's very, very common, but it means everything is out of balance. And the clenching of the hands is just the last straw, but it's helpful to let the clenching go. I'd say at least half the population clench their hands even when they're sleeping actually.
Until a few months ago, when I woke up, I was slightly depressed. Most of people here in Sweden at least are depressed when they woke up. Then they are happy the rest of the day. But when I discovered that if I have my fingers like this, the depression disappeared completely.
Yes.
And now I'm happy.
Yeah, we can stop the camera. I don't know how to do that. I'm gonna ask somebody, but we can compare the photos in the beginning. The moment you let the hand out, you also. I need a stick to show this. I'll make myself a stick. Here we had a movement going up when the hand was sort of, yeah. This clenching is that imbalance, and I think it's the body that tries to prove that body and mind are different. And this tension, this is the body-mind dualism in action. And it was so good that you were clenching your hand. And I think it's possibly because we had a tough weekend here. And I think that could be a little bit of lead for you people watching the video here. If you had like a nice couple of days relaxing, making walks, relaxing, taking it easy, being happy, you will not have your hand that way. But on the other hand, you can get the nice feeling but relaxing it. It's a good start. That was very, very good. Another thing is the pattern of tension. Here, the knees are tensed, the ankles are tensed, buttocks are tensed. They go like a pattern like this. Up here and here, tension here, and the tension is all up here. And try to lose that, yeah. So, and this tension pattern, I'd say that's the corporal embodiment of the mind-body dualism. Because when you hold your body like you hold it before, Kalle, your thoughts will not have effect in the body, and therefore they don't have effect in the world. I think that's the logic. That's the general logic. But when you're starting to notice, and especially specifically hard in the beginning, because everyone will think that thoughts don't have any effect. We're raised that way. We have it in our culture. All the philosophers thought that. All the scientists has been thinking that, except the very last ones. So it's a completely natural thing. I would say it's inevitable. But it has a corporal effect, and it's a little bit like studying the Kleinbotten, seeing a person like this, and also seeing what a little manipulation can do when it comes to difference. And we're starting to teach the head and the body at the same time. That's the idea of having the images, the words, and the explanations. This needs to be paired with practical things. And the practical, I think, should be divided in two terms. Simple practical exercises like this, but also taken into action out in the world, because it needs to be natural. But as a training example, a chair is absolutely excellent. It's a very good start. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it, I'd say. It needs to be more though, but this is where we start. Please sit down, Kalle. Let's see here if we can find that good old sitting bone. Have you had any time the last couple of weeks to check the sitting bone, or?
No. I think about it every day, and I practice it a couple of minutes every day, but then it's so easy. These chairs here are too comfortable. And it's so easy.
When you sit, you can get a feeling for the sitting bone, and I feel in his shoulder now he has contact with the sitting bone. He didn't have it from the beginning. And the sitting bone is a little bit like this. You practice every day, and after a while you find a sweet spot, I call it. And this sweet spot is a more comfortable way of sitting than the usual comfortable. And this is so weird. Why is it like that? Yes, it's because of here is starting to develop T1 muscles, and they don't take any effort. We know that. Those are the ones that take fat as energy. They don't need oxygen, they're anaerobic, and they support this part. And when you find that sweet spot, you know two things happen. I've been starting to develop T1 muscles, and I found my sitting bone. And the sitting bone is actually dead careful. It's really, really comfortable. Really comfortable. And what happens when you have it, you can let that go. Your doings here. I'm just going to go in example. I'm not going to go into the things that the person does, whatever it is. Writing, computer work, that will improve. The handwriting will be better, the touch on the keyboard will be better. But the third thing is the quality of what you write will also improve. Because intellectual, hand-wise, and body, we know they are completely integrated. There's no difference. Actually, it's impossible for the thinking capacity not to get affected if you're tired and slump. Actually, that is the thing that will be affected the most. So we have a great gain here. We can improve not only our bodies, but also our skills in doing things. And the third thing, the intellectual capacity. This is something that Alexander called skill in intelligence. And that will be improved. I'm not going to show this today. This is just an example that that person could actually do something. We will not add to the complication here. And once he found the sitting bone, it is when I move his body, the whole body goes in concert. It goes together. And then I want to see if the neck is better directed. This is what happens. The neck gets more relaxed, more movable. And before it was very hard to do this. This is not as hard anymore. And we can try to change. See, you can go up now. Yeah, that's so much better. That's so much better. And up and up and up, yes. So, You can watch for yourself. This is the Klein bottle in action. Have a look at this. This looks so much better, and maybe it doesn't feel better, but trust the photo. The photo is right in this case. I've been criticizing the photo, but here the photo is accurate. It looks better even for us who's sitting around you. So this is success with the Klein bottle. Thank you, Kalle. So we have once more a case with the hand slightly clenched, not so much. Yori, could you please let your hand out? Yeah. This is the more comfortable position for the hand, because if you have some tension in the hand, as I said to Kalle, that tension will spread up the arm, up into the shoulders and to the back. But it's also the tension from the back that's sort of spreading into the hand. It goes both ways. It's very interesting. I realized that more with the Klein bottle, and the latest thing I read, I thought from the beginning all tension started in the main body, like the corpus, like this, but it could also start in the appendicular movements, the things we do with our hands. Well, to some extent also the legs. I say so the tension could go up here, and here it's tense, so I can't move even here. So, and it goes in 5 points. Here the ankle, I don't know if it's shown, then we go up to the knee. Ankle is the first point of tension, then we have the knee, and here the tension go this way, up to the chest and over to the back side here. And here's an area of tension. So this tension is shutting out the body. We can jokingly say that was the cat doing as well. He did that also. We don't know that, but I feel pretty safe to say that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have that. Why he's very loose in his head. But he's younger though. These things grow by age also. We try to put some more tension by each year. So that's why it's so important to stop in time. Otherwise, the habits will build by themselves. You don't have to do anything to get worse and worse habits. And actually very hard to stop. Ask Yori to sit down in a manner that feels okay. Yep. Perfect. And I'm going to show you we have something called the sitting bones. Those are two things where the legs ends here, like here, and this is the places we can sit on. It's good for sitting. And I don't know if you can feel some bony thing in the chair. It's a bit harder. Under here, got it? Yeah.
Like this?
No, going into the chair where your legs ends. Like a hard thing on.
It's on my back.
No, it's not really on your back. It's okay on it. I can feel in your shoulders if you found it. Yeah. Yeah, now you got it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can feel you have it.
I can't feel anything.
Yeah, well, you got it now. It's when I move up here and his body goes like this and not like this. Look, it doesn't go this way anymore. The difference is it goes together. And that's exactly that feeling I mentioned with the tyngdlyftare weight. He starts these upward movements. He gets all of the back into the movement. It's not much weight, but this preparatory stage is dead important. Because it's the back that lifts the weight, not only the hands. of course, everyday practice will make the back carry the weight of the body as well. That's not as much as the weightlifting. It's not 100 kilos, but it's a lot of weight. And it's the same thing. If you don't have a back that's prepared, extended, the weight will burden the back and cause harm to the back in the long term. And the same with the weightlifting. If you do like this and don't get the back with you and you go up like that, you are going to damage your back. But the same thing, if you do this for 10 years, 15 years, you will damage your back too. It's the daily repetitive thing that makes the strain. That's why it's called repetitive strain injury. It's repetitive, it's a strain, it's not a direct damage. It's a slow damage, but it happens dead certain. And the older you get, the more of these habits you have and the more you cause harm to your body. And God forbid, if you start feeling back pain, you will double the amount of tension. We know that. Back pain actually doubles the amount of tension. Because now you have two things. You have bad posture and a bad hurting back. And the hurting back you don't want to feel, therefore you tense yourself. You get nervous moving about. I had back pain one day, I think, in my life. I'm lucky and down with a strong back. It's not thanks to good use. My back is just strong. But I get nervous moving about, because if I did some movement, I got punished. There came the pain, like a shot. It's horrible. I had it only for one day. And it's almost to give me nightmares. So let's see if we can get up your attempt. See here. Yeah. There, yeah, there you go. And you can go up. Yeah, wow, look at that. You get higher, 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 higher. Very good, very good, very good. So Jorit is a tall guy, but he almost got, I think, 2-3 centimeters. That would be a little more than an inch taller now. So we gain height by directing. The only direction, the only movement the back can do, the spinal column can do, it's extending. And if we all day don't extend it, if we start our movement in bad temporality, we start with the things we want to do, pick something up, do something with the pen, then we're gonna put it out of order and we're going to not extend the back. And during the day get smaller, shorter. It's not as long when you go to bed. And this has been noted for a long time, maybe 100, 150 years. And people say this incredibly stupid thing. That is caused by gravity. How? It's like human beings just came to existence after gravity. No, of course human beings have adapted to gravity. We were built with gravity. See, it doesn't make any sense at all. Gravity is part of reality. It's always been part of reality. And to say that gravity makes us shorter, that's pure nonsense. This is a tall guy now, and he can be this tall all the time. Just you put some energy into this thinking, and you will see in the end your thinking has more and more effect. And in the end, the thinking is as strong as a pistol shot, somebody told me. Because every time you think, you see a direct effect. It's incredible. It's a little bit like leaving a place where you don't have any effect on anything. You feel hopeless in a way. And not anything you think will do its purpose. This is the opposite. Thank you very much, Jorit, and thank you very much, Kalle. We round up there. Cheers for listening.
Thank you.